Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Film Optics review brought to you by the Drive-In Podcast Network. I'm your host, Christian, and I'm joined by my co-host, Devin, and friend of the pod, and our boss, technically, Jacob, from the Music City Drive-In website. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you two doing?
I'm peachy.
I want to know when we're getting a trap remix of our little intro. Like it's all along.
I saw that today. Devin showed it to me. I was like, this is literally
It's
the best
amazing.
thing. It's only Monday. But yeah, today we're going to be reviewing the latest Apple TV Plus film, Cherry. But before we begin today's review, we'd like to thank Apple for allowing us to watch and review this film. And you can listen to our podcast on platforms around the internet. Excuse the train in the background. That's all good. I'll try to edit it out. If not, oh well. You can make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Film Optix. That is Optix with an X for all of our latest announcements. So I think for this one, of course, we're going to keep it completely, PG, no spoilers or whatnot, because I believe this doesn't hit Apple TV until March 12th, I believe. So that's always a fun time. But yeah. Wait, what's up?
Yeah, I was just confirming.
Oh, no. Mine says February 26th.
Is it 26? IMDb said March 12th. I thought...
Yeah,
It might have a theater release.
Or is that the embargo day?
No, the embargo's the 25th.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not...
So
okay.
I think, so quick, like, not spoiler, but quick, like, shoot ahead. I think because people aren't really liking it, they moved the embargo date to literally the day before.
Oh, okay.
But I was always under the impression that it was, like, soon that it was coming out.
IMDb shows March 12th, but
that's where I pulled
releases.
it from. But I'm not entirely sure. But I mean, it is what it is. Like,
okay, yeah. So it's theaters February 26th, then Apple TV March 12th.
oh, okay. So in reality, it's March 12th because I don't know if
Yes,
it's
for most people.
for most people. Okay.
Got people waiting in line to see Cherry in theaters.
Oh,
Big event.
Oh Lord, yeah. I mean, hey man, it's a movie. But let me read the synopsis here, and then we'll kind of get into our quick thoughts about it and just our overall experience with this this movie. So the synopsis reads: an army medic suffering from a post-traumatic stress disorder becomes a serial bank robber after an addiction to drugs puts him in debt. This is directed by the Russo bros, Anthony and Joe Russo, writers Angela Russo, Otstot, I think. Otstot, and Jessica Goldberg, and stars Tom Holland, Spider-Man himself, Jack Reynor, and Ciara Bravo. And yeah, coming to theaters February 26th, like you said, and then March 12th on Apple TV Plus. So I wanted to get your guys' original, your just like overall thoughts about this. We're kind of just going to dive into it. I guess I'll let Jacob, our boss, go first so he doesn't kick us off the network.
So I guess the biggest overall thought I have with this movie is basically it's disappointing. And that's because there was so much that I could find like in so many different places that I really, really loved. And then it would just go straight back to being just a jumbled like mess. So I guess like my overarching like thought about the whole thing is, I really, really liked a lot of it, but it was so disappointing to see something like this just go completely wasted.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I agree with you.
I'll get into more. I'll get into more in a little bit, but yeah,
okay.
That's kind of like my overarching like thought of the whole thing.
All right. Devin, what about you?
Yeah, I'll have to agree with you there. I wanted to like it a lot. Like I was pumped for it. It's got the perfect combination. You got Tom Holland and the Russo brothers shooting a movie in Cleveland. Like, so it's got a lot going for it. But at the end of the day, it's trying to be a lot of things, but it's not great at any of them. So that's where it kind of falls apart. Because it's good at parts, but it just doesn't have any greatness in any of the aspects of it.
All right. Yeah. For initial thoughts, I was I was kind of excited for this movie. Like, I really enjoyed like the first like 30 to 40 minutes, and I know a lot of people did not. And I was just like, I was into it. You know, I like stories that, you know, people like, especially like casual movie fans, they like stories about someone's like life. Like, that's why I feel like a lot of people like, oh my gosh, Forrest Gump so much. I mean, I do. I know Jacob doesn't, but it's all good. But it's, you know, I think that's what really I think that's what's going to really draw people in.
Classic slice of life type.
Yeah,
movie.
Yeah. Like, and I have mixed. I was mixed about it because there are parts I really really liked, because I think Tom Holland was definitely the best part of this entire film. And
that's one other issue I had was it's Tom Holland, and then what else?
I mean, see, his girlfriend. Well, is that Ciara? Yeah, Ciara. Yeah, she was pretty good too. I liked her.
She was all right. I like Jack Reynor too, but his role was pretty small.
I really like Ciara's character more, that she's like doing something so different than what at least I've seen her in. Because the last thing I saw her in was Big Time Rush on Nickelodeon, where she was like the younger sister.
Oh my life!
And she just pops up in this movie, and she's like, I'm like, wow, she's like actually trying to act, which I think I more respected her performance rather than was like impressed with what she actually brought. Like, I'm glad she's like maturing into something like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what I really liked about Tom Holland, I mean, you know, we've seen it with, God, he was in that Netflix movie. What was it called?
Devil All the Time.
Devil All the Time. Like, I thought he did a really good job, to be completely honest.
He also had a lot to work off of in that movie. He had Robert Pattinson and other actors work off on there. That's why it might have worked a little better.
Yeah, I think so. I'm just thinking about the ending. I'm sorry. Like the very ending with the, I won't get into it, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was like the first 30, 40 minutes were good. And then it kind of just, I mean, it kind of went back and forth. I mean, what I really liked about this film is that it shows how, as a society, like in American society, you know, it is common to there are a lot of veterans out there that are on the street, and the system has failed them in a way. And I really think that this kind of comes to pass because, you know, he kind of just, you know, he goes to war as we see in the trailer. You know, I'm not going into actual spoilers, but, you know, comes back and it's kind of just, everything just happens all at once. And he doesn't really get the help that he needs. And we kind of see that throughout the movie. The people that he encounters kind of like shrug him off, and he kind of just goes in, like, not descent into madness, but he just spirals out of control. And he's just, he's lost. Like, quite frankly, it's like he had nothing else better to do with his life, and he just kind of, you know, took the first thing that came along, and this is what happened.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a lot of his character was based around kind of like impulse decisions. I mean, even going to war was an impulse decision for him.
Yeah.
But I mean, to go back on Tom Holland, I thought Tom Holland was great. That's another like thing that just disappointed me so much, is that I think he gave like a really great performance. I'm not going to, you know, we're not doing spoilers, but like the hospital, right before the end, out on the street, like even when he was talking to his girlfriend, on base, it was like those moments just like struck through me. And I was like, wow, this is such a good actor. But this movie is so jumbled and so just out of place that it felt so wrong that he was like giving such a good performance in this kind of movie. But yeah, I mean, I think like he had so much going, that free flowing kind of spirit kind of just like oozed out of him. And that's something, a lot of it, you know, he's trying to get away from the Spider-Man. You can still see a lot of that kind of like Spider-Man type of like kid in him. But again, just like Ciara Bravo, I'm glad that he's kind of stepping out into these more like mature roles.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy how young they both look, but that also works for them because that combination. They don't look strange together. Like they both look like they're 15.
Yeah. Well, I mean, funny enough, they both look 15, but they're both older than me. So
that is very, very true.
Yeah.
And Maisie Williams. Well, she's the same age as you, I think. Or maybe.
No, she's a few months older.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's crazy. I think we were Devin and I were talking about it on one of our other shows that like I think I was talking to Leo and Zach about it when we did our Princess Mononoke review. It's just crazy sometimes you see celebrities and it's like, oh yeah, like FYI, there are celebrities out there that are the same age as you, but like you just think that they're just some unknown age, and it's like you never, they're people too, but it is what it is. But I wanted to kind of talk about the runtime of this film. What did you guys think about that? Because I think it clocks in around like 2.5 hours. It was just as long as Wonder Woman 1984, and I was like, well, at least this had more substance than Wonder Woman 1984. If anything,
maybe too much substance.
Yeah,
and a lot of substance abuse.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, but I mean, the runtime is something that kind of like I thought it was. Like I said, the first 30, 40 minutes I thought were paced like really, really well. Like I was sunk into it. Next thing I knew, like an hour had kind of flown by. And then it was like the last scene was not needed. But it was kind of nice of what happens at like the very end, if you guys know what I'm talking about. Because I didn't know that was going to happen. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a nice little surprise. But yeah, that last scene, it felt like it took like 20 freaking minutes.
I think it did take 20 minutes.
And I was like, did this really need to be here? Like, I thought it was going to end, on the scene right before that. And then it's like, no, we're going to keep going. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, see, one thing, this is where I think the Russos have kind of putting themselves in a hole because they're so used to the MCU. They're so used to longer movies. And I feel like in the MCU, everything has to be explained. You have to have Easter eggs on exposition, on explanation, to where you kind of have to throw it all out there, where that's my like biggest gripe with this whole movie is I wish there was a little more ambiguity. Because like one of the last scenes where Tom Holland is on the street, I wish personally that would have been the end of the movie.
Yeah,
and then
I agree.
After that, it has the subtitles overhead where it kind of like explains everything at the end. But I think that's one whole thing to where it's like they didn't leave anything up to the audience. They kind of just was like, okay, like we're going to explain something and then we're going to show you that thing. And then we're going to explain something and then show you that thing. Yeah. Whereas I really, really wish there was a little bit more of like mysticism and a little more like having to, because this was a movie where I just didn't have to think because everything was being told to me, and it was being told to me in like you said, an almost 2.5 hour runtime, which is far too long for something like this. And I love long movies, but when you just pick and choose stuff to just kind of throw in, it starts getting to a point where it's like, are you really trusting your audience to understand what's happening, or do you like? Or can you trust them?
Yeah. Devin, do you concur? You're shaking your head over there. I see you.
I do. I guess my biggest issue is that it's kind of like 5 different movies in one. It's a war movie. It's a romance movie, a drug epic. You got some robbery heist stuff in there. Yeah. And it isn't. None of those like rise above the rest. They're just all kind of decent, but not great. None of those stories were very memorable.
Yeah, I feel like you can easily compare this to Forrest Gump because, it is kind of, not completely similar, but in certain ways. But it's like, I wonder what works with Forrest Gump because obviously in everything in that movie, everything was explained to you like through and through. But for some reason, this movie it just wasn't that. I think
at the time, no one had seen anything like Forrest Gump. That's part of the reason why. Yeah. It was so.
And I think one thing with Forrest Gump, especially because Forrest Gump's not based off like a true person, and there was so much nostalgia built into it that people could kind of overlook and be like, oh, like I'm not going to care if this is going too long and they're explaining this because he's drinking Dr. Pepper in the White House and says he has to go pee and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, I think there was a little bit of a comedic undertone throughout the entire movie, where this film, I think, was really trying to take itself like
super seriously.
Yeah, very serious. That just didn't. It was the right choice, because I feel like a comedic tone for this movie wouldn't have worked, but at the same time, I think that's one of the things that kind of held it back.
Yeah, because I think the Russo brothers, I mean, besides, Infinity War and Endgame, I think the other movie, I don't know if they produced it or if they directed it. It was 21 Bridges with Chad Boseman.
They produced that. The movie they did right before they started doing the MCU was You, Me, and Dupree. And then I think they did Community.
That's right.
And then they did the MCU. And
then Trajectory. I think they did Arrested Development too.
They did a few Arrested Developments.
Yeah, it was kind of like, Robert Downey Jr. He was in, what was it, Shaggy Dog, like right before Iron Man 1. So it's like, it's just crazy how you can kind of just flip a switch and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to start doing this now. But yeah, I don't know what it was about this film. It was a mixed bag for me. I probably wouldn't sit through it ever again, to be completely honest. But it was like I said, it had its nice parts. I mean, I wish we can go more into spoilers, but we gotta keep it PG here. But was there any other points you guys wanted to kind of bring up?
I probably wouldn't sit through the thing as a whole. I definitely would sit through parts of it and watch. It's just like I said, I personally think Tom Holland was very, very good. Like, very good.
Yeah, he was.
And I feel like with a better movie, he would be getting like awards type of conversation, like talks about. But I just feel like the movie, and here's how I summarized it when I first saw it, is I feel like the Russo brothers, like, since making their first movie, have been taking little pieces of different like styles of directing and then just threw them all together, because there's so much different stuff. It seems like they just pulled out of a bag and said, okay, this is the kind of movie we're going to make. This is the camera angle we're going to use. This is the this is how the scene's going to play out. It just felt like such an experimental piece for them, to where it just like they tried to make a story that should have been like a small indie hour and a half to hour 45 long movie, and they tried to make that into like an MCU type of epic. And I think once they start getting away from that, I see like some real potential for them to start doing some really good things, because there were some moments in this where I was like, wow, this is very good, and it's very good for like not just good for like the Russos, but it's very good overall.
Yeah.
And then it would just go right back to being a large scale epic type of film. And that's just not what this movie needed.
Yeah. It kind of like built up, and then, I mean, obviously like it fizzled out, but I do agree. I really do like, I think Jacob touched on it earlier when he was saying that, Tom Holland is trying to break out of that. He doesn't want to just be known for the MCU. He was in Spies in Disguise. He was in Devil All the Time. He's going to be the Uncharted movie. I don't know how that's honestly.
Chaos Walking.
Walking. That's right. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Hey, that comes out soon.
Girl. I'm going to watch that because it's Daisy Ridley and Tom Holland, obviously. So I mean that's the main reason why I want to be watching it. But I really do like how he's experimenting. It's not just, oh well, I'm just gonna be playing another superhero role. Like I'm just gonna be doing Spider-Man for like the rest of my life. I really like how, even with Chris Evans, he kind of, I mean, even though his time with Captain America is like technically done. Like,
is it?
I don't know, dude. That's another whole can of worms. But he was in Knives Out, and he was also in Defending Jacob. That's right. I think that's also on Apple TV. I haven't watched that yet, but I thought that was pretty. It seemed kind of interesting. But yeah, it's just really nice to see, like, just Disney actors like Marvel or Star Wars kind of break out and do other things, because that's not going to be your whole life. I mean, that might be what people remember you for more so than not. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, this movie was all right. I don't know.
I did like, I don't know if you guys noticed the names of the different banks he was in. I thought those were nice little humorous sprinkles.
Oh yeah. So Devin and I are both from Cleveland, Ohio. So, or I used to live in Shaker actually when I was a kid. So there was
not even that, but just like they had silly names, like nonsensical.
I didn't even realize that.
It was like Shitty Bank was one of them.
Oh
yeah, that's right.
I saw that.
What did you guys think? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, that's something that I feel like could have been, if they would have like really dove into that, I think that could have been something cool, because like they do have Tom Holland as kind of the narrator of the whole thing. It would have been cool to see like this whole movie was playing out in his eyes, like how he saw stuff. So like when he went into Shitty Bank, like he was like, okay, this is a shitty bank, and I'm going to rob it easily, you know? And so it would have been cool to see something like, see that kind of difference in like what Tom Holland was seeing versus what was like actually happening. I think would have been a cool way for them to go.
Or they even could have used that as a way to like kind of show you what's real or not. They could have been like, oh, maybe those parts weren't real. Maybe he was just tripped out and couldn't even know where he was.
No, I agree. Yeah, because some of those bank robberies, I was like, what?
They always seem too easy. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, okay,
it made me think like, okay, what is gonna happen if I really like try to go rob a bank? Like,
it was inspiring. I think we should try it out.
I was like, my God, someone's gonna try it out, because I mean, you even see it in the trailer where he has like the dollar bill and he like flips it around. And he's like, I have a gun, and it's like, yeah.
It's funny because like even at the very beginning, he's like, they all know what I look like. They've seen my face. There's no point in covering my face. It's like, okay, so are they just not like on the run for you? Like, are they just not looking for you?
Because
maybe he was making all of it up. Who knows? Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, it's kind of like the Joker, you know, like was Joker in the asylum the entire time? Joaquin Phoenix? We don't know. He's like,
and see, like that's another thing to where I feel like they watched the Joker and was like, oh, this is something we should do, or like they watched. They watch different things and they're like, this is what we should do, but they never fully expanded on one like true thing to do. Yeah. And it just like all just clashed into each other.
Yeah. They kind of just took aspects and kind of just like, oh, we can kind of use this idea for this, but they didn't. Yeah. I see what you mean.
Because it would have been cool. Like in my eyes, it would have been cool had like come to the end of the movie. He was like in the police thing, and they just kind of showed him. They were like this, like almost like the Wolf of Wall Street scene where he's on the Quaaludes and he thinks he drives home like perfectly, and he really like crashes into every single thing on the way home. Like it would have been cool to be like, no, like you fell apart at every single moment.
That was amazing.
And so like I think that would have been something cool that if they really would have dove into one thing.
Yeah,
I think that would have made it a little bit better too.
Yeah, and it was kind of, I mean, the whole drug addict part. I mean, I really think that Ciara Bravo, you know, her playing that role, you know, when they get into other things, it's like, it was kind of like, it was like a realistic relationship. It wasn't like a fairy tale relationship that they had either. And that's what I really enjoyed about it. It wasn't just this, you know, like, I love you, I love blah, 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 whatever. Like, kind of like a Disney fairy tale type thing. It was real. You know, they had issues. They went through trials, tribulations, all that stuff. So it was that part, the relationship part is probably what I enjoyed the most. But yeah, I mean,
is it bad that I just now remembered the ending? I forgot about it all the way up until this point. I was like, oh, that's how it ended.
Oh my gosh! Speaking of the ending, like I really want to point out that this is probably one of the best scores I've heard, like of last year or this year. Like the music in this film was just so good. I went back and rewatched like parts of the ending just to listen to it.
Really?
Just like the music in general. It was very like
it was kind of. Yeah,
I really enjoyed that part of it, and that's another thing that disappointed me so much is like there's so many technical aspects. There's so many like when they do the I thought the army like recruitment scene kind of when they like changed the aspect ratio and like really alter. I thought that would have been something that would have been really cool to see like in a theater. And I think like it would have been really cool to hear this movie in a theater, but it's just so much of it didn't come together when it should have, that it just, it kept falling apart. Yeah. But just disappointing. That's just the biggest thing I keep going back to.
Would you guys have enjoyed this film more if you would have saw it in theaters?
I can say that for any movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, any movie.
I really think this wasn't an Apple TV kind of film. I think it would have been much more enjoyable in a theater because it's the Russo brothers. And because it's, for better or worse, they did make it such an epic. It would have been cool. Like a lot of the scenes in like in Iraq or Saudi Arabia or wherever they were, a lot of the scenes like in war would have been really cool. Cause I mean, like that's another thing. The cinematography was just like gorgeous. Like some of the shots like on location were very good. And it would have been really cool to see those like on a big screen. And I feel like some of those aspect ratio changes and some of the music and stuff like that would have worked so much better on a big screen. And also I feel like in a big screen, you're not as worried about the 2.5 hour runtime as you are like singing at your home when you've got like 7 other things you can do.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, you can be distracted by your phone, if you're cooking dinner, all this other stuff. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so I don't think seeing this in a theater would have made it like a masterpiece or like even good. But I definitely think seeing it in a theater would have allowed some of those moments to shine a little more. Like some of those where I was like, okay, that just didn't work. It would have allowed those to be like, okay, now I see how this works, or I see like what they were going for.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Yeah. I'm missing the theaters a little bit when it comes to certain movies for sure. But I think a movie like this definitely, I agree that, watching it in the theater would have enhanced the experience. But I'm like really glad that I did.
Yeah.
I'm really,
it's not making it good.
Yeah. Like I'm really glad I didn't see like Wonder Woman 1984 in a theater. Like I'm like really, really happy that I did. And I think that's the one big side when it comes to streaming. But that's, for smaller movies, like, I don't know, like Tom and Jerry, I'm not sure if anyone here is planning on watching it, but there's no way I'll watch it. I couldn't watch it in the theater.
I'm watching.
I'm going to watch it, but I don't know if I watch it in theaters.
I think it's going to be good.
I'm excited for it for sure. Like I really, really am. This just because it's, I don't know. We haven't really had like 2D animation and like, the real world kind of clash together in a while. Like it's been a while for sure. But any other final thoughts before we wrap up here?
Well,
cool.
I'm just realizing that James Gandolfini's son was in this apparently. Michael
really?
Gandolfini. He played Cousin Joe, his one friend.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like it's. The other. Besides Ciara and Tom Holland, it's like I didn't really care for too much of the other characters. They were there, but they didn't really like wow me. Like this
didn't help.
Yeah, no, like this definitely was Tom Holland's movie, and like we definitely recommend if you haven't seen it when it does come out, definitely give it a watch. I feel like you can kind of like watch this with your family for sure. If you want to watch it with your friends, that's cool too. But
I would recommend watching this with your family, though. I don't think this is like a very kid-friendly movie.
Maybe your parents, not your little brother.
They're gonna learn how bad drugs are. Something
yeah.
or the other.
This is their dare video. It's just 2.5 hours long. This is what drugs can do to your kids. But so that pretty much closes out here. Before we do officially close out, I guess we'll just give scores, our initial thoughts. I'll let Devin go first. What would you give Cherry out of 100?
I'm going to give Cherry a 60 out of 100.
Ooh.
I don't think it was a bad movie, but it just didn't live up to what it could have been.
Okay. What about you, Jacob?
So I usually do my rating out of letters. I think I gave this I want to say I gave it a D plus. So out of 100, I'd say it's probably Yeah, right around 65 to 68-ish, 69. I'll go 69.
Hell yeah.
So would you give it on Letterboxd? Oh wait, no, we can't yet. Never
Yeah.
mind. That's right. I made that mistake, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, yeah, didn't even realize that.
I think on Letterboxd I gave it 2, maybe 2.5. I might bump it up to 2.5, but I think 2 right now.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually gonna go like a 55 for this.
So we're all in the same range.
Yeah. Usually I give movies the benefit of the doubt just because, but I mean, yeah, this one was just a mixed bag. Like I said, it's definitely worth at least watching once, if anything, but for like Tom Holland's performance and Ciara's performance as well. But yeah, I guess we'll just close out here. Jacob, let everyone know where they can find you, what pieces you're writing, because you write way more than me, and I need to up my game myself. But let the listeners know what's coming up on your docket.
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on Twitter at tberry57. We're right in the thick of award season, so I'm writing a lot of award season pieces. Golden Globe, I've got a few coming out this week. And then of course Oscars are coming up. Nominations are in like 3 weeks, 3-ish weeks, I think. And so I've just been doing a lot of award season type of stuff. And you can find all that on musiccitydrivein.com.
Awesome. Devin, you want to put your plugs in?
You're the plug.
No, it's all right. But yeah, that pretty much concludes. Jacob, thank you very much for coming on. We definitely got to get more of the Music City Drive-In crew here. We still got to do our Lord of the Rings. I'm 100%.
We got to finish the last one.
Yeah, we do. Like I just want to do like I don't know. Maybe we can do like a 4-hour podcast, And like people can just watch it or listen to it in, breaks and episodes, whatever. I'm sorry. I'm just being a little salty right now. Anyway, that's a wrap for today, everyone. Thank you all for listening, and make sure to check out the other shows over on musiccitydrivein.com and subscribe to our show so you never miss an episode. That was Devin, Jacob, and my name is Christian, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.